Hello students and learners, welcome to the new lecture, and in this lecture we are continuing the revision of the chapter 2. Okay, so in the last lesson we have stopped this topic. This topic is known as gas exchange alveoli to capillaries. Okay, so now we are continuing this topic. So diffusion of the gases takes place from alveoli to blood and also vice versa. It means from the alveoli to here you can see, so from the blood to alveoli and from the alveoli to the blood and so on. So such kind of a process continues so and so on. It means it is a cyclic process. Okay, the air sacs are one cell thickness, so whether it may be blood capillary or whether it may be air sac, so both of them are one cell thickness. One cell thickness means in this way. Okay, these are the one cell thickness. So in this way you can see, so if you take a small portion of it and zoom it over here, so it will look in this way. So in the same way, the blood capillary also, the blood capillary is also one cell thickness. Okay, this is alveoli. Okay, and this is blood capillary. Okay, BCP means blood capillary. So the exchanging is going to take from alveoli to the blood capillary, from the blood capillaries to the alveoli and so on. Okay, in this way you can see this is the alveoli. Okay, so in this way you can see, so in the same way the blood capillaries also in this way, or the blood will be flown in this structure. So these all are the one cell thickness. Okay, one cell thickness of the blood capillary and one cell thickness of the alveoli. Okay, so previously the blood which is coming to the alveoli or towards the lungs, it is a dark red color. So dark red color, and after the taking of the oxygen it will turn into bright red color. Okay, so bright red color will be the color of the blood after coming from the lungs. Why? Because they have obtained or they have taken the oxygen. Okay, hence it is known as oxyhemoglobin. And at the same time the carbon dioxide pulses out of these capillaries, and that is known as oxygenated blood and is reaching to the heart, and heart collects the oxygenated blood from the lungs and supplies to the all body parts. We will discuss about the such kind of oxygenation and also uh, oxygenation, deoxygenation and so on, everything in the next chapter, that is chapter 3. Okay, transportation. So the oxygenated blood is bright red in color and deoxygenated blood is dark red in color. So the composition of the gases in inhaled air and exhaled air are different. So these are the inhaled composition of the air, gases in inhaled air, and these are the compositions of the exhaled air. So both are different. Only the oxygen and also carbon dioxide percentages are changing. Okay, while the nitrogen percentage is the same. Okay, it's a constant. Why? Because the nitrogen is not absorbed by the body and not released by the body. Okay, so during the total lung capacity of human beings is around 5800 ml. It is around 6 liters. Okay, 1000 ml is equal to 1 liter, hence 5800 ml is nearly equal to the 6 liters. Okay, the volume of the air during the resting condition will be around, so it is approximately half liter or 500 ml, and the total 1200 ml means almost near to 1.5 liter of the air is remaining in the lungs all the time, whether you are inhaling or exhaling. Such ml, such kind of, it means around nearly 1200 ml of the air is remaining in the lungs, so that this air is useful for the diffusion of the gases. Okay, so this is about it, and the question is, where does oxygen amount of oxygen vary between the exhaled air and inhaled air? So that is nothing but oxygen is utilized in the cellular respiration. So if the oxygen is utilized in cellular respiration, the composition of the oxygen is varying. Okay, so next, what is the raised percentage of the carbon dioxide? So that is raised carbon, which raised the carbon dioxide percentage? That is nothing but the cellular respiration. During cellular respiration, the carbon dioxide released by the cells. Okay, hence the carbon dioxide percentage is increasing in the exhaled air, and oxygen is decreasing in the exhaled air. Okay, so next, transportation of the gases. So here the hemoglobin, it is a protein, it is present in the RBC. In the RBC you can see the hemoglobin proteins. These hemoglobin proteins containing the iron. Okay, so these are the hemoglobin proteins. If you take a small hemoglobin protein, it looks in this way. Okay, so these are the protein molecules. So here you can see each and everything has an iron atom. Each and every protein has iron. So hence how many iron atoms? Total 4 iron atoms are there. So to these iron atoms, the oxygen will be bound to it. So oxygen is going to bind to the iron atoms in the proteins. So as a result, So what will happen? Deoxygenated blood will turn into oxygenated. Okay, so oxygenated blood, or it is also known as, oxygenated blood or oxyhemoglobin. Okay, so oxyhemoglobin or oxygenated blood is the same, and this hemoglobin along with bound oxygen molecules will move from the lungs to the heart and from the heart to the different body parts. The carbon dioxide is usually transferred as a bicarbonates. Okay, not only with the help of hemoglobin, but also carbon dioxide is going to travel in the form of bicarbonates, and some molecules of the carbon dioxide combines with hemoglobin. So what happens if the oxygen is given to the cells? It is empty. So the empty hemoglobin molecules will bind with carbon dioxide. So CO2. So now it is going to bring the carbon dioxide to the lungs for the exchanging. So these carbon dioxide molecules will be given to the alveoli, and oxygen is taken from the alveoli. So hence the deoxygenated blood will get converted to the oxygenated blood. Okay, and remaining carbon dioxide will be transferred in the form of bicarbonates and so on. Okay, so next equation of the oxyhemoglobin will be in this way. Okay, so Hb hemoglobin plus 4O2. Why? Because 4 proteins are there. So each protein is going to bind with 4 oxygens. Total 4O2 gives rise to HbO2 4. Okay, so 4 oxygen molecules are bound. So such kind of reaction will be seen in lungs. Okay, such kind of reaction will be seen in lungs, and reverse this reaction, Hb4O2 gives rise to Hb plus O2. Okay, 4O2. So this is exactly opposite reaction. This equation is exactly opposite in directions. So this will be seen in the lungs. Okay, and this will be seen in tissue. Okay, tissue of the body. So this is only the difference between these two. So at sea level means, let us consider this is the ground. Okay, on the ground the oxygen is sufficient for all hemoglobins to bind with it. Hence there is no problem. All hemoglobin molecules are going to bind with oxygen, no problem. What happens if you move up to 13 kilometers high altitude? Let us consider this is a mountain. If you move up, okay, what will happen? The oxygen concentration is going to get decreased. As a result, if the oxygen concentration is going to decrease, what happens? Only 50% of the hemoglobin can bind with oxygen due to the less amount of the oxygen in the higher altitudes around height of 13 kilometers or 8 miles. Okay, this is the main reason. So the percentage or the concentration will be around 1/5, means very less. So such kind of less amount of oxygen is not suitable for the respiration or breathing. Okay, so altitudes blood cannot carry sufficient amount of oxygen to the tissue, so the people will feel some tiredness and they cannot live in the higher altitude for longer period of time. Okay, next is the gas exchange, that is capillaries to the back, capillaries to cells and back, and so on. Here the oxyhemoglobin releases oxygen at lower concentrations. So in the lungs, and in the tissue. Okay, so in the tissue and lungs, what is the difference between? So in the lungs there will be higher amount of oxygen, lower amount of the carbon dioxide. Oxygen will be higher here and carbon dioxide is lower here. So hemoglobin is going to bind with oxygen. Why? Because oxygen is higher. So here it will be traveling to the tissue. In the tissue, what you can see, the carbon dioxide is higher and oxygen is lower. As a result, hemoglobin is going to give out oxygen. Okay, and it is going to bind with carbon dioxide. So this is only the difference. So the concentration here, the oxygen is more in the lungs, it is going to bind with oxygen. Here the carbon dioxide is more here. As a result, it is going to bind with carbon dioxide. So this is only the difference that you can see. Okay, deoxyhemoglobin binds with oxygen at higher concentration level. It means the deoxygenated blood will get bound to the oxygen. Why? Because in the lungs there is more oxygen. Okay, so carbon dioxide, water and energy are produced during the cellular respiration. So here the glucose is going to bind with oxygen to produce energy, carbon dioxide and water. So this is a process or the reaction that you can see in the cellular respiration. Okay, so this energy, whatever the energy is here, that is utilized for the different metabolic activities. Okay, metabolic activities, and some amount of energy is also stored in the form of ATP. Okay, so ATP is produced by accepting energy. How the ATP is formed? ADP plus inorganic phosphate is going to form into ATP by accepting some amount of energy. Okay, so this is the process that you can see here. So the cellular respiration. Cellular respiration means the utilization of the glucose molecules with the help of oxygen in the cells to produce energy, carbon dioxide, and also water. So this is known as cellular respiration. Here the glucose molecules are oxidized and converted into oxides of the carbon, that is known as carbon dioxide. So this is the process, this is the equation that you can see in the cellular respiration in the cells. Okay, so this is such kind of energy which is produced over here is very essential for the life process. So the cellular respiration may be aerobic or anaerobic. So what happens if it is anaerobic? So the glucose is going to give rise to energy without any oxygen. No oxygen is required to produce the energy from the glucose. Such kind of process is known as anaerobic respiration. So what is aerobic respiration? The glucose plus oxygen is utilized to produce the energy. So such kind of a respiration, such kind of process is known as aerobic. Aerobic means it is the utilization of the oxygen in the cellular respiration. So such kind of anaerobic respiration is seen in the bacteria. Okay, such kind of anaerobic respiration is seen in the bacteria. Example, what is bacteria? Bacteria is nothing but prokaryotic. So what is meant by prokaryotic and eukaryotic? In the prokaryotic organisms, no nucleus. So no nucleus is seen. That is known as prokaryote. Okay, what is known as eukaryotic? They have the nucleus. Okay, nucleus is present. That is known as eukaryotic. In the eukaryotic cells, you will see you can see the respiration in the presence of oxygen, that is known as aerobic respiration, that you can see in the eukaryotic cells. Okay, in the eukaryotic cells, the cellular respiration is going to occur in the cytoplasm plus mitochondria. Okay, but in case of a prokaryotic, you can see the cellular respiration only in the cytoplasm. Okay, as a result, in the eukaryotes, the per molecule of the glucose, there is less amount of the energy or ATP will be produced. But in case of eukaryotes, there is more amount of energy or ATP will be produced. Okay. So next, the anaerobic respiration, animals produce lactic acid. So in the anaerobic respiration, anaerobic respiration also seen in human beings. Okay, so during the exercises, during the strenuous exercise, what you can see, the glucose molecules in the muscles, okay, is broken down to produce a energy, that is energy plus lactic acid. So this lactic acid is produced, and this lactic acid has less amount of the energy when compared to the glucose. So this lactic acid is also going to give some amount of energy, but at the same time, this lactic acid in the muscles is going to cause pain in the muscles. As a result, the athlete or the person who is involving the sports or the person who is doing the exercise is going to feel pain in the muscles. It is also known as muscle fatigue. Okay, as a result, that person will stop at that moment. Why? Because he cannot do the exercise with pain. Okay, so this is the anaerobic respiration in the muscles. Muscles has some amount of ATP, but that amount of ATP is not enough for longer period of time. It is used for the within a seconds. So as a result, they have to break down the glucose molecules in the absence of oxygen, and the amount of oxygen is not suitable at that rate. Okay, amount of oxygen is not suitable at that rate as we break down in the ATP. Okay, so production of energy is stored in the form of ATP, and also it also known as energy currency of the cell. So during cellular respiration, the energy will be produced. This energy is utilized for the metabolic activities, and some amount of energy is utilized for the production of the ATP from the ADP and inorganic phosphate. Okay, so for each amount of the ATP, there will be around 7,200 calories of the energy will be produced. So we know that this energy will be utilized for the cellular process or cellular metabolic activities. Okay, this energy stored in the form of phosphate. So what is meant by ATP? How it is going to look like? We know that the adenosine triphosphate is a full form of the ATP, and how it is going to look like. So let us consider this is the sugar. Okay, sugar, and this is the base. What is the base? Adenosine. Okay, adenosine base, and also the phosphates are attached to here. Okay, how many phosphates? We are saying the triphosphate. Triphosphates means the three phosphates are present. Okay, we can see there is a bonds between these phosphates. So this is the ATP, and what is meant by ADP? So this is the phosphate. Two phosphates are there. Why? Because this is di ATP and ADP. So this is the base. Okay, this ATP, it is going to give out the energy. When the energy is given out, it is going to turn into ADP plus inorganic phosphate. Okay, here you can see there is a breakdown of this bond. When the breakdown of the bond is seen, such kind of energy will be released. Okay, and release of the energy is of two types. One is the aerobic respiration, another is the anaerobic respiration. Okay, this is a glucose molecule. So the glucose molecule will be broken down into two molecules of the pyruvate. So these two molecules of the pyruvate may enter into any one of the respiration. So if there is a less amount of oxygen, if the oxygen is less or no oxygen, in that case the anaerobic respiration process will be seen. So this anaerobic respiration or fermentation is same. So in that conditions, in the bacteria, you can see there is a production of the lactic acid. If you add some amount of curd to the warm milk, the bacteria will develop in it, and the bacteria will release lactic acid, and there is a formation of the curd. So over there you can see lactic acid. Okay, so this lactic acid is the result of the anaerobic respiration. Example, bacteria. These bacteria is going to do anaerobic respiration and release the lactic acid. Okay, and next is the fermentation. So in the less amount of oxygen or no oxygen at all, so the yeast is going to do the fermentation. As a result, in this case, the ethanol, carbon dioxide, energy, these three compounds are produced. Okay, so as a result, ethanol is an important component. It is used for some other purposes, and this is the condition that you can see in anaerobic respiration or fermentation. Okay, next, if the oxygen is present, in higher concentrations, and in that case, what you can see, there is anaerobic respiration. In the aerobic respiration, there is a production of the carbon dioxide, water, and energy. So such kind of aerobic respiration can be seen in plants and also animals. Okay, next is the glucose is commonly used for deriving energy in plants, animals, microorganisms, etc. So this glucose is most important compound for all. So utilized for the production of the energy, carbon dioxide, and so on. So this is most important for all plant, whether it may be plant or microorganisms or human beings, whatever it may be. It is most important compound for the liberation of the energy or production energy. Okay. So in the first step, glucose is converted into pyruvic acid or pyruvates. So these pyruvates may enter into aerobic or anaerobic respiration depending upon the presence and absence of the oxygen. Okay, hence here the glucose molecules are oxidized to produce carbon dioxide at the end. Okay, so the absence of oxygen are not utilized. The pyruvic acid is converted into ethyl alcohol. Just we have seen over here ethyl alcohol. Okay, so the amount of energy produced in anaerobic respiration is very less. How much is that? That is nothing but 1/10th ratio. Okay, it is very less. Okay. So next question is, do cells of the alveoli or lungs also require oxygen? So whether it may be alveoli or the cells of the capillaries or whatever it may be, so most of all the cells are going to need the oxygen. Yes, the capillaries of the lungs or the alveoli of the lungs are going to take the oxygen for the cellular respiration. Okay. So can energy be released without oxygen? So the energy will be released without oxygen. Hence, the amount of energy produced will be very less. So the ATP, the present already in will be utilized during the strenuous exercise. Muscles has the ATP, but they will be utilized very quickly. Okay. So this is one of the reason the muscles are going to do anaerobic respiration. Okay. So anaerobic respiration to produce the lactic acid, which gives a less amount of energy. Okay. So next, ATP present in the muscles lasts for only half a second during the vigorous exercise. So this is one of the reason that anaerobic respiration will be seen in production of the lactic acid. So to observe all these conditions, one way or approach to study is just levels of the blood, levels of the oxygen in the blood and production of the lactic acid during the exercises like bicycle riding, treadmill, etc. So there will be equipment that will be attached to the athlete or the sports person, so to check how much amount of lactic acid is accumulating in the blood, and so on. Okay, so then it is removed from the blood after the exercise. The sugar is changed into lactic acid in the muscles. As a result, it is going to give some amount of energy, but it is going to cause a pain in the muscles. So lactic acid is also used for the production of the ATP, or energy currency of the cell, that is ATP. So to ATP is utilized, it is produced, and is going to some amount of ATP is going to produce some amount of energy, and so on. So here the lactic acid utilized. Lactic acid is utilized to convert the ADP plus inorganic phosphate to convert into ATP, and this ATP is going to give the energy to the cells. Okay. So next, anaerobic breakdown of glucose reduces lactic acid, and deficiency of oxygen in strenuous exercise is also known as oxygen debt. Why? Because if you are doing the strenuous exercise, so what will happen? The sufficient oxygen will not be pumped to the muscles. As a result, there is a deficiency of oxygen in the muscles. As a result, that condition is known as oxygen debt, or less amount of oxygen. So when it will be cleared, debt is nothing but deficiency. And when it will be cleared, it will be cleared when the person is stopping exercise and the person takes rest for 30 minutes to 40 minutes, and so on. In that conditions, again the oxygen levels will be restored in the muscles. Okay, so next is the questions. After undergoing the strenuous exercise, we feel pain in the muscles. Does the adequate oxygen reach the muscles? The answer is no. No oxygen, or no sufficient oxygen will be supplied to the muscles. Hence, this is one of the reason the muscles are going to do anaerobic respiration. Okay, and also as a result leading to the production of the lactic acid. So what is being formed in the muscles? So lactic acid is formed in the muscles during the oxygen debt. Okay, so these are the values that has been taken. Okay, so based upon the concept that is given in the textbook. So what was the concentration of lactic acid in the blood starts? So that is around 220 milligrams per kilometer cube, and this is the greatest concentration is about 110 milligrams per kilometer cube, and so on. So this is the answer will be approximately 55 minutes, and so on. Okay, so if you see the graph, in the graph the lactic acid will be this much, and if you do the exercise as the time is increasing, so this is the concentration of the lactic acid. Okay, so as the time increases, so there is a straight increase in the lactic acid level in the blood, and also it will continuously slows down as the person is stopping and taking the rest. Okay, so this will be seen. And anaerobic respiration, the oxidation process in which the carbon dioxide produces and also energy release. Here the human muscles releases energy when they are short of oxygen. So what happens? These muscles release energy when they are the short of oxygen. The oxygen is very less. And here is some experiments with the yeast. So here there will be a taking of the yeast and testing for the production of the heat and carbon dioxide under anaerobic respiration. Here the yeast is unicellular organism to produce the carbon dioxide temperature in the absence of oxygen. Okay, here there is a small process. Here you can see. So this is a whole experimental setup. So in this experiment we have to see that everything is arranged properly, and this is a flask. In this flask, so we have to fill some solution. This solution is known as glucose solution. So glucose is a sugar. So glucose plus sugar, if you take it, if you dissolve the sugar in the glucose in the water, so not a sugar, the water, so what will happen? Glucose solution. So we should make sure that there is no oxygen, no oxygen should be present in it. So for that we have to boil it. Okay, if you boil it, what will happen? The oxygen will be removed from the glucose solution. Okay, so glucose solution is nothing but glucose plus water. Okay, so this is known as deoxygenated, or you can call it as a oxygen removed glucose solution. So then what we have to do? We have to cool it, then add yeast. Okay, add yeast to it, and it will become the yeast suspension. So we have to make sure that the oxygen is not present or oxygen is absent. So to that we have to add a indicator that is known as, so Janus green bee. Here we can see the Janus green bee. So this Janus green bee is also known as Dyson green. So this Janus green bee is primarily it is blue in color. Primarily it is blue in color, and if oxygen is present, this blue dye is going to turn into pink color. Okay, we have to add few drops of Janus green bee or Dyson green to the solution. So we know that there is no oxygen, so it will be blue in color. Okay, blue in color, and we have to pour the solution into the flask. So into the flask we have to pour the solution, and what we have to do after, so we have to pour some amount of paraffin wax, liquid paraffin wax. So that the reason for adding the liquid paraffin wax above the yeast suspension is make sure that the oxygen will not dissolve into the yeast suspension. Okay, so as a result, what will happen, no oxygen will get dissolved into the yeast suspension. So we have to do the arrangement, like we have to insert thermometer and through the cork, and also we have to add a delivery tube here. And in another test tube we have to fill with a bicarbonate solution or lime solution, and so that the gas which is released in this flask will be released into the test tube containing the bicarbonate solution. Okay, so this is the process that you have to do. So now we have to leave it for for a few hours. As a result, there will be a fermentation process going on. So the carbon dioxide will be released over here. This carbon dioxide escapes from the paraffin wax and moves into the delivery tube, and this carbon dioxide dissolves into the bicarbonate solution. As a result, there is a formation of white color precipitation, looks like milky white appearances. Okay, so this is a process. Based on this experiment, we can see that there is a liberation of carbon dioxide along with increase in temperature. So the increase in temperature will be noted in this thermometer. Okay, so this is the procedure. And if you want to see the experiments which occurs at faster rate, we have to warm up to 37 degrees Celsius, so that the reaction will be even more. Okay, so this is the procedure to know that the carbon dioxide will be produced during the fermentation and no oxygen in the fermentation, along with increasing in the temperature. Okay, so I hope this experiment is clear. And next the question is, what happens when the bakers prepares a dough by mixing the yeast in it? Yeast is a unicellular organism, so it is also known as baker's yeast. Why? Because this yeast is used in the bakery. So when the yeast is mixed in the dough, the fermentation is going to start along with increasing in the volume of the dough. Let us consider this is the container containing the dough which is mixed with the yeast. So after few hours, the volume of the dough is going to increase. Why? Because there is a trapping of the carbon dioxide bubbles in the dough. As a result, the volume is going to increase up to certain height. Okay, so this is about fermentation. So next the topic is the fermentation. This process is also known as the breakdown of food material by the microorganisms. So example, yeast, it is going to break down the glucose, so leading to the production of the energy. Okay, even the yeast is also need energy. Okay, so it is going to perform the fermentation. So during this process, the fermentation characteristic smell is produced. This characteristic smell is due to the production of the ethanol. Okay, or you can call it as ethyl alcohol. So this ethyl alcohol is most important in the industries. Okay, so this ethyl alcohol will be collected from the yeast suspension. So as a result, ethanol can be separated from the yeast glucose mixture by a process known as fractional distillation. So by heating the ethanol at 70 degrees Celsius. Okay, now the question is, what is fractional distillation? Let us consider this is the tank which is containing the yeast, glucose, and also ethyl alcohol. So we have to heat this. If you heat this up to certain amount of temperature, around 70 degrees Celsius, the 70 degrees Celsius is necessary. Why? Because at 70 degrees Celsius, okay, 70 degrees Celsius, this ethyl alcohol is going to boil. Okay, it is going to boil and is going to turn into ethyl alcohol vapors. Okay, ethyl alcohol vapors. So the ethyl alcohol vapors will be collected and will be cooled. If you cool the ethyl alcohol vapors, what will turn? It will turn into droplets. Okay, these droplets will be collected. Okay, this is only the reason we have to heat the ethyl alcohol solution at this temperature. So in the fractional distillation, we are going to provide the heat based upon the boiling point of a particular solution or particular compound. Here our important interested compound is ethyl alcohol. So ethyl alcohol boiling point is 70 degrees Celsius. So we are heating the solution yeast glucose solution mixture at 70 degrees Celsius. Okay, So according to their boiling point is nothing but the temperature. Boiling point is the temperature at which the liquid state plus the liquid phase and gaseous phase will exist. Okay, liquid and gaseous phase exist. That is known as boiling point. Example, water. If you take the water at 100 degrees Celsius, okay, you can see water or liquid state plus gaseous state or vapor. Okay, so both are existing at 100 degrees Celsius. So that is known as boiling point. At this temperature, water boils to become a vapor. Okay, a water vapor. Okay, what is melting point? The temperature at which the solid state and also liquid state exist together. If you take the ice at 0 degrees Celsius, the ice will be at solid condition, solid state, plus it will be melting at the temperature, it will be melting to form a liquid. Okay, this is known as melting point. Okay, so based upon the boiling points of a particular solution or particular mixture, we are providing that amount of heat to the particular mixture to extract from the mixture. That is known as fractional distillation. Okay, so respiration is an energy releasing pathway. Do you agree? Yes, it is an energy releasing pathway. So glucose molecules are burnt in that process of the respiration to produce the energy. Okay, so respiration and combustion. So Lavoisier in the 18th century and also Robinson, both of them stated that respiration is a combustion process where there is a releasing of the heat in the animals and is the source of the heat in the animals. Okay, so in this activity too, we have to show that the changes that are occurring in the combustion of the sugar in the laboratory. Okay, so for that we have to take we have to arrange the setup. Okay, this is the strand where we are fixing the test tube containing the glucose solution, glucose mixture. Okay, not the mixture, just glucose molecules, that's all. It is a sugar. Okay, beneath the test tube we have to keep one Bunsen burner or lamp. Okay, to heat the test tube. So if you heat the test tube, what will happen? It is going to melt. First the glucose is going to melt and is going to burn. Okay, so we have to make the arrangement so that there is a rubber stopper over here where it is fixed with a delivery tube, and the delivery tube is transferred into a tube containing the lime solution. So we know that upon burning of these glucose molecules or glucose thing over here, the glucose will burn and going to release energy plus carbon dioxide plus water. Okay, so here we are interested to see whether the carbon dioxide is released or not. So the some gas is released. This gas will pass over to the delivery tube and going to mix with the lime solution. As a result, lime solution plus carbon dioxide is going to show milky white appearances or milky white precipitation. So hence we can show that the carbon dioxide is released, and here the huge amount of heat is released in the test tube, and hence we can confirm energy and carbon dioxide is produced during the combustion of the sugar. Okay, the same process will be seen in the cells. So the difference, what is the difference between the combustion of the sugar in the laboratory and combustion of the sugar in the cells? So hence you can see that huge amount of heat energy will be released at once in the lab. Okay, so there is no control over the releasing of the energy in the laboratory, but the same heat and energy will be controlled in the cells. Okay, the cells can control the energy which is coming from the glucose. Okay, hence we can say that the cells are efficient in controlling the cellular respiration or efficient in combustion of the glucose molecules. Here, if the water is poured, if you want to control, what you have to do, you have to pour water. Okay, then it will get turned off, or the glucose molecules burning will be stopped. But here there is a presence. The presence of water is always in the cells. Even after the presence of water in the cells, such kind of burning of the glucose is possible. So this is a beautiful mechanism in the cells. Okay, and here what you can conclude from this, the burning of the glucose cannot be stopped easily in the laboratory, but the cells can control the burning process of the glucose. Okay, this is another difference. So heat production by the living organisms. Animals and plants produce the energy in the form of heat by burning the glucose or sugar in the cells. So the animals produce heat constantly to replace the lost heat. All the time your body is going to lose the energy, heat energy. Okay, so and your body is maintaining constantly, the heat is maintained. Okay, heat is maintained in the body. So this is the main important aspect. So next, during cellular respiration, the excess amount of heat energy is released as the heat. Some amount of energy is stored in the ATP and some energy is utilized on the spot. Okay, this is commonly seen in the cellular respiration. Okay, so but such kind of heat energy will be not sometimes it may increase. Okay, when it will be increased during the strenuous exercise, so the heat energy will be more. Why? Because there is more amount of the cellular respiration. If the cellular respiration is increasing, the heat energy is also increases. So to cool this heat energy, the body is going to produce a sweat to decrease the heat energy. Okay, to decrease the temperature of the body. Okay, and deep breathing helps us to restore the energy in the body. So these are the other ways of the heat where other ways where the body can lose the heat. So these are the four major ways: heat, radiation, evaporation, convection, conduction. These are the four different ways where the body can lose the heat. So here in the radiation, the heat from the body is lost to the surroundings. It means from your body into the environment, the heat is lost. Such kind of process is known as radiation. So in the evaporation, when you are doing strenuous exercise, you can see the formation of sweat on your hand, on your body. So what is sweat is doing? The sweat is sweat containing the water, and this water, when it is evaporating, it is going to carry the heat from your body. Okay, such kind of loss of heat from the body with the help of the sweat or liquid, that is known as evaporation. Okay, so next the convection. In this case, the body is going to lose the heat energy when other bodies are touched. Okay, or especially the heat is present on the hot bodies all the time. So in you on your body also there is some amount of heat, but there are some agents like water, air, etc. These agents are going to take the heat from your body. Okay, these agents are going to take the heat from your body. As a result, so the heat is lost from your body, that is known as convection. Okay, so next, conduction. It is loss of heat from your body by other substance. If you touch any water bottle, cold water bottle, this cold water bottle is going to absorb some amount of heat energy from your body. As a result, the little bit amount of temperature will be decreased on your hand. So here these substances, cold substances, are going to carry the temperature of your body. That process is known as conduction. Okay, next, the question is there any rate of heat production all the time, or the always the same? No, the rate of heat production will be different. So example, depending upon the environment and situation, the temperature of the temperature or heat of the body is going to alter. Okay, next, the evolution of the gas exchanging system. So exchanging of gases is different in different types of the organisms, like diffusion, respiratory organs, etc. So these all are the exchanging process will be seen. So right from the last universal common ancestor is the cells. Okay, last universal common ancestors. It is also known as LEUCA. Okay, from the cells we all different species came. Okay, different species came. So as the species diversity is increasing, the respiratory organs in those organisms is also changing. That process is known as evolution. So hence the evolution of the gases exchanging system also developed in different species. So these all are the different process. So depending upon the complexity of the organism, different respiratory systems has been developed. Example, diffusion, respiration, respiratory organs, and so on. So in the multicellular organisms, the respiratory system will be complex, and in the unicellular organism, the respiratory system is very simple. Example, amoeba, hydra, planarians, etc. These organisms are very simple. Their body structure is very simple. Hence, there is a simple diffusion process will be seen in these organisms. But if you take the human beings like a cow or buffalo, so they are multicellular organisms, highly developed organisms. So as a result, there is complete respiratory system is present in these organisms. Okay, so now we will see, depending upon the complexity of the organism, we have some types of the respiratory systems. So we will see what are they. Example, first is the tracheal respiration. So in this tracheal respiration, it is present in the insects. So let us consider this is the cockroach body. Okay, on the cockroach body, you can see the small holes on the abdomen side. So these holes are known as so tracheoles. So these tracheoles are going to carry the oxygen into the body and release the carbon dioxide from the body through this hole. Such kind of process is known as tracheoles. If you compare the cockroach with human beings, so the human beings are highly advanced when compared to the cockroach respiratory system. Okay, so such simple respiratory system can be seen in the cockroaches or any insects. Okay, so next, the branchial respiration. In this case, the gills are branchia are special organs that can be seen in the aquatic animals. Example, fishes. In the fishes, you can see the gills. So let us consider these are the gills that can be seen in the either sides of the fishes. So when the fish is taken the water into their mouth, what will happen? The water enters into the mouth. When the mouth is raised and closed, the water will be pumped through the gills. Okay, in this process, the water containing the oxygen will be absorbed by these gills, and at the same time the carbon dioxide released from the gills. As a result, there is exchanging process in the gills. Okay, as a result, through the gills or gill pouches, as a result there is a exchanging of the gases that can be seen in the fishes. Okay, so gills lamellae performs the gases exchange. Blood supplies to the gills through the capillaries are called branchial respiration. Such kind of process is also known as branchial respiration that you can see in the fishes. Next, the cutaneous respiration. The term cutaneous refers to the skin, and the respiration which occurring through the skin is also known seen in the some animals like amphibians. Example, frog. The frog is going to take the respiration through the skin, hence this process is also known as cutaneous respiration. Not only cutaneous respiration, the frogs also can perform another type of respiration like pulmonary and also buccopharyngeal respiration. Okay, pulmonary means the lungs. The frogs also can take the can perform the respiration through the lungs. That is known as pulmonary respiration. And they have the other variety of respiration is known as buccopharyngeal respiration. So where the buccal cavity and also pharynx both are involved in the respiratory process. Okay, so pulmonary respiration is commonly seen in the animals and birds that can live on the land. Okay, or you can call it as a terrestrial animals. Okay, so the respiration in the plants that can be seen through the stomata. Okay, let us consider this is the leaf. On the undersides of the leaf, you can see small holes. These holes are known as stomata. These stomata are going to help in the exchanging of the gases. So hence, such kind of exchanging is very helpful in the photosynthesis and also respiratory process. Not only leaves. So these stomata are present on the young stems where the stems are green in color, and not only such kind of process is not only seen in leaves. If you observe the stems of the plant has small elevations on their surfaces. These are known as lenticels. These lenticels are helpful in the exchanging of the gases. Okay, and you can see the aerial roots in the mangroves. Mangroves means where the land is covered with a water-lapped condition, or water is completely filled over the land. In that conditions also the plants also going to grow. So these are the plants that will grow in that areas. So the roots, they have the roots, and these roots will not get sufficient amount of the air. Okay, so even the roots also going to take the help in the taking of the gases. Okay, but these roots do not have any option to get water in the they do not have any oxygen or any gases in the soil. Why? Because if the soil also filled with water. Okay, so there is no air in the soil. As it is, these roots are going to come up onto the ground and on above the water. As a result, now they can perform the exchanging of the gases. So this such kind of respiration is seen in plants like mangroves. Okay, this oxygen also required for the help plant to produce energy during the cellular respiration. Okay, so next, the conduction within the plants. It means how the gases are conducted in the plants. So first is the stomata. Just now we have discussed that they are going to take the air through the stomata or gases through the stomata. Okay, so these are the continuous network all over the plants. These air spaces are larger in the leaves. Okay, let us consider this is the stomata. Okay, this is the stomata in the leaves. Okay, what you can see here, the spaces between the cells are larger. So these are the spaces which are larger in these cells. So in this case, the little bit a layer of the water is present. This layer of the water is going to absorb the gases like carbon dioxide and also oxygen. Okay, so such kind of process is very important. So the spaces are lined with water. The oxygen is dissolved in it and passed through the porous cells. Porous cells means the cells which is containing the empty spaces, that is known as porous cells, into the cytoplasm of the cell. So this is a cell, it is a nucleus. So this complete fluid-like structure is also known as cytoplasm. The oxygen is taken into the cells. So by this process, it is completely occurring through a process known as diffusion. Okay. So the carbon dioxide is also done in the same way. From the cytoplasm, the carbon dioxide will be released into the layer of the water containing the pores. So this, as a result, the carbon dioxide will be released outside. From here, the carbon dioxide will exit through the stomata. Okay. So here there will be gradient will be developed. What is gradient? Gradient means concentration differences. So in the cells, let us know this is a plant cell. So in the plant cells, the carbon dioxide will be higher in concentration, oxygen will be lower in concentration. As a result, what you will see, there is a differences will be seen. So, or you can consider in this way, for better understanding, let us draw the diagram in a different way. So let us consider this is the cell and this is the pores, the water layer around the cell, and this is the spaces, empty spaces. Okay. So here the carbon dioxide will be more in the cells. Why? Because the cells are performing the cellular respiration at the night time. Okay. So in here the water layer around the cell and in the empty spaces the oxygen is higher. So you can, if you compare both, there is a gradient will be developed. Okay, the concentration is outside the cell and the oxygen concentration is higher in the outside the cell and the carbon dioxide concentration is inside, higher inside the cell. So based upon this concentration, the exchanging of the gases is going to take place. Okay, so such kind of process is also known as diffusion. Based upon the concentration, the molecules are moving. So such kind of process is known as a diffusion process. Okay, by this way the plants can do respiration process. Okay, so the whole system is going to do all the occur in the same way. Okay, next is the aeration of the roots. The roots also going to aerate. The plants can aerate through the lentils or the root hairs or the spaces that is present in the soil. So let us consider this is the land and these are the roots. Okay, so this is a plant, these are the roots. So the roots are present in the soil and the soil has some spaces. These spaces are known as air spaces. So the root hairs or roots are going to absorb air into the root hairs. So these airs, the soil has air spaces. These air spaces contain some amount of air. Okay, so air along with oxygen. So by this way, roots also going to take air from the soil. Okay, so the plants with the waterlogged conditions are the roots which is present in the marshy soil or a wet soil. They are unable to take the air or unable to respire. So as a result, the roots are going to come out. Roots are going to come out to take the air from the atmosphere. Okay, so above the water level. So these roots grow and they are going to take the air, and the plants has a hollow stem. So most of these plants has a hollow stem just to conduct the air through them. Okay, and it's the carbon dioxide is evolved during the respiration. So for this process we have to make the two sets. So this is the jar 1. Okay, this is jar 1 and this is the jar 2. Okay, so in this jar 1 we have to take to do this experiment, first we need a handful of the horse gram or Bengal gram, and we have to take it and we have to soak in the water for around 1 day, and in the next day night we have to keep the soaked seeds in the kerchief or in the or any towel so that it will germinate. So in the next day morning we have to take it out and we have to put the germinating seeds in the beaker 1. Okay, in the beaker 2 we should put the dry seeds, that's all, just dry seeds. And along with it we have to take the the beaker containing the lime solution, and keep it for 1 or 2 days, so that what will happen, the carbon dioxide will be released. Why? Because these germinating seeds are going to do the cellular respiration. As well, the carbon dioxide will be released, and this carbon dioxide mixed with the beaker containing the lime solution, and the lime solution beaker will show milky white appearances. This is an indication that the carbon dioxide is released during the respiratory process. Here in this beaker you don't find any milky white appearances. Why? Because these cells are not germinating, as well they do not perform cellular respiration. Hence no carbon dioxide, no milky white precipitation in this beaker or in this jar. Okay, so next is another activity to show that the temperature is increased during the cellular respiration. Just now we have seen the one experiment. In that we have used the germinating seeds. Take those germinating seeds, take the one flask, okay, thermos flask, put the all the germinating seeds in the thermos flask and insert one thermometer, okay, and also close the lid carefully so that heat cannot escape from this thermos flask. So after we have to observe the experiment every 2 hours for 24 hours. Okay, for every 2 hours you have to come and take the readings on the thermometer. So if you do in this way, there is a increasing the temperature. So if you plot the temperature increase on the graph, you can see the steady increasing the temperature. Okay, so the heat is released during the cellular respiration. So by this experiment we can say that the heat is released during the cellular respiration. As a result, so we can say that heat plus carbon dioxide is released during the cellular respiration. Okay, so this is cellular respiration. And the question is there any increase in the temperature? Yes, there is an increase in the temperature during the cellular respiration. And yeah, the thermometer, does the temperature increase steadily or does the abrupt increase at the time of the day? So it is continuously steadily increasing the temperature. Okay, where does the heat is coming from? That is coming from the cellular respiration or respiration process. So in the next year is the photosynthesis versus respiration. Here you can see in the photosynthesis it is an anabolic process. Anabolic process means build up process means here there are two terms like anabolic and also catabolic. So this is anabolic and this is catabolic. Okay, both are metabolic process. Okay, in the anabolic process there is a build up of materials, and in the catabolic process there is a destructive process. Okay, so what is built in the anabolic process? In the anabolic process, you can see there is a buildup of the sugar C6H12O6 is built by using the sunlight, carbon dioxide. Okay, so by using these materials plus water, by using these materials, the glucose molecules are built or produced. So hence that process is known as anabolic process. Example, photosynthesis. So catabolic process means destruction process. So during the catabolic process, you can take the example of the cellular respiration. The glucose molecules plus oxygen is utilized to break the glucose molecules into to produce the energy, to produce carbon dioxide and also water. So hence you can see the glucose molecules are broken down in the cellular respiration process. So hence this process, the respiration, cellular respiration, is an example for the catabolic process. Okay, so in this case you can see the six molecules of the carbon dioxide, 12 water molecules are produced for the utilized for the production of the sugars, water and also oxygen. Okay, and the produced sugars, the energy which is produced, or the sugars which is produced, is utilized for the production of the energy in all organisms, whether it may be plant or animals and so on. Okay, so here will be the respiration process. In the respiratory process, here you can see the glucose molecules. The glucose molecules will combine with oxygen to produce a carbon dioxide, water and energy. If you see here, the reactions may be opposite, but they include several steps. Okay, so here it is containing the biochemical pathways, means the steps that is involving in the living cells to produce such kind of energy and to produce such kind of products. Okay, so the photosynthesis is occurring in the chloroplast to produce the sugars, and while the cellular respiration is occurring in the mitochondria. So what is cellular respiration? Cellular respiration means the production of the energy. Okay, so that is occurring in the mitochondria to produce the chemical energy by burning sugars. So hence to produce the ATP, the mitochondria is going to produce doing a lot of work to produce the ATP inside the cells. So photosynthesis is usually higher than the rate of the respiration, while in the night time it is just reverse in the most of the plants. So during the daytime, so the sunlight is there, so it is going to produce the sugars. Okay, sugars plus energy. Okay, but what about the night time? In the night time there is no light, so hence the oxygen plus glucose is utilized to produce the energy. Okay, so the whether it may be sunlight or whether it may be daytime or nighttime, it doesn't matter. The plants need energy all the time. So in the daytime the photosynthesis is going to occur, and the night time the cellular respiration is going to occur. Okay, And some factors affect the rate of photosynthesis is the respiration. So the respiration is in the cellular here you can see the respiration, the cellular respiration and also photosynthesis. So they are affected by the some factors. Those factors are known as temperature, humidity, light, etc. These all are going to interfere with the photosynthesis and respiration. Okay, and I hope this lecture is helpful to you. And if you haven't subscribed, subscribe to the channel so that you will get notification on new lesson uploads. And we will see you in the next lecture. Okay.